This video is sponsored by Wildlife Command Center Coffee. More about them at the end of the video. Hey everybody, it's me, John Ward, and I am back with another Dark Park Film Reviews. And this video is one that I've brought up on Facebook about doing because I've been waiting for the real Ghostbusters Part 3 since the day I saw Ghostbusters 2 come out. And there's always been those issues with Bill Murray, and then we hear about the Harold Ramis stuff with Bill Murray, and there's always been these problems. And for a while, the video game Ghostbusters, the video game, was going to be Part 3, and so it was great to see that they finally, brought out an official third film. And so on Thanksgiving, I decided to sit down and watch the original Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2. I have it on Blu-ray. It's this right here. And this is a combo pack of Ghostbusters 1 and 2. And for Blu-ray, this is the best way that you could see it. There's its side and then the back. And it's mastered in 4K, maximum picture, expanded color. I don't have 4K, so even though this is mastered in 4K, I saw it as 1080p. And let's see here. It says here on the back, the classic supernatural comedies that defined a generation, Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2, come together in this special collector's edition Blu-ray set. Celebrate 30 years of the Ghostbusters franchise with remastered high-def picture and sound for both movies, plus all new, never-before-seen special features. Explore the history of the films with this deluxe collector's edition, loaded with production notes, character sketches, insider info, and more. Bring home these spooktacular, successful films that captured the imagination of audiences worldwide and redefined the action comedy genre in the process. Who you gonna call? It's nice on the back that they got all four guys, including, Winston being there. It's nice that they just didn't cut him out and just have the three. So it's nice that all four of them are there. So for Ghostbusters, the all new special features are Who You Gonna Call, a Ghostbusters retrospective, a roundtable discussion with director Ivan Reitman and Dan Aykroyd, Ghostbusters music video, poster art gallery, plus original special features. Okay, so they don't tell you everything. The original film is written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis. It is produced and directed by Ivan Reitman. Title song, of course, is Ray Parker Jr., who got sued by Huey Lewis and the News because the song Ghostbusters was just a little too close to Want a New Drug. And because originally the producers of Ghostbusters wanted Huey Lewis and the News to do the theme, but they were doing the theme for Back to the Future, the first one, Power of Love instead. And then, well, obviously Columbia said, screw that. We still want that type of song. So they got Ray Parker Jr. and they did something that was similar. And Huey Lewis decided, well, you know what? Screw you. I'm going to sue you. And I believe they settled out of court and stuff. Music by Elmer Bernstein. You can't go wrong with that. He also did the music for Stripes and many other movies. So let's see. Then Ghostbusters 2, all new special features. Time is but a window, Ghostbusters 2 and beyond. roundtable discussion with director Ivan Reitman and Dan Aykroyd, deleted scenes on their own music video. One of the things that I like with the soundtrack for Ghostbusters 2 is that it does have a Oingo Boingo, Danny Elfman song called Flesh and Blood, which is from their album Dark at the End of the Tunnel. It's barely used in the movie, but it's a great song. This one is once again written by Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd, produced and directed by Ivan Reitman. This one, music is actually by Randy Eidelman. And yeah, so there's a little bit of a switch up. Let's see, Ghostbusters is 105 minutes, while Ghostbusters 2 is 108. So they keep around the same time, which is nice. And it is Columbia Pictures, Sony. Both films are PG. And it looks like this package here came out in 2014. So both have 1080p, high definition, and 2.40 to 1 audio. It also has 5.1 DTS, HDMA. Also has digital Dolby, bunch of subtitles. And that goes for both films. So it says here with a little asterisk, the expanded color requires an XVYCC enabled TV and Blu-ray player. Some of the information in the above listings may not apply to all special features. Okay. So take a look inside. So it does come with a booklet, which is nice. So here's the table of contents. And then try to get that up a little bit higher. It's hard to hold open here because it wants to close. Oh, we'll take a look at that in a moment. There's a big got some drawings and stuff here, some original production artwork. The story of Ghostbusters, how it all kind of came about. So it's a nice booklet. I like that it's attached. Then we get into Ghostbusters 2. Here's some of its production art. And then there's the last page. So it's 25 pages. That's not bad. And then it gives you both Blu-rays here. So Ghostbusters is on top, and then slid under it in its own slot is Ghostbusters 2. You can see the number 2 right there. Kind of would have been nice, since they did the part 2, to have actually the part 1 maybe on here, because they do show, you know, there's the ghost with 2. So why not do the ghost here with just saying 1? And I know that some film people don't like when you say Psycho 1 or Nightmare on Elm Street 1 or Ghostbusters 1. It's just Psycho or Nightmare on Elm Street or Ghostbusters. But still, I mean, if they're, why not play off of it? Why not? So yeah, so this whole thing it's nice looking. Now, what are these two things that fell out? So here it says a personal note from Ivan Reitman. I'm not going to read that whole thing, but this came with it. And then it also gives you the Ghostbusters 1 and 2 instructions for digital. So we'll put those back inside here. Just going to randomly put them in the pages here so they don't fall out like they almost did before. There we go. So yeah, so this is what I watched yesterday. This is what I will continue to be watching. Now, if you notice, in this hand is the Blu-ray for Ghostbusters 1 and 2, and in this hand is nothing. This hand would hold, if it were any good, Ghostbusters 2016, which in my mind is garbage. It is absolute and total garbage. Made by some talented people. It is garbage. I would even go as far as saying that it is an abortion. It is one of the worst things I have ever seen, and I will never include it in my collection. I gave it a chance, and I watched the theatrical cut. Didn't like it. Gave it a second chance when it came out on Blu-ray as the extended version. Didn't like it. Watched a bunch of behind the scenes and still didn't like it. Trying to understand what was their motivation for making this film. Oh, money. That's really it. There was no desire in making a film that would be within the Ghostbusters universe. They purposely did not include anything from Ghostbusters 1 and 2. The cast from Ghostbusters 1 and 2 were forced, more or less, to be in the movie. And this has come out, especially about Bill Murray, who did not want to have anything to do with it, that since he's under contract, that Columbia, Sony would sue him. And this is what I've read on the internet, so I can't be 100% sure. But from watching videos and reading articles and things like that, is that basically they said that if you don't do this film and promote this film, we will sue you. There will be a lot of problems. And so he was more or less forced to do it. And if you notice in the movie, his character basically sits in a chair through the whole, like through his entire scene. It's like he couldn't even be bothered to stand up. It's like, fine, I'll do it, but I'm just going to do it sitting down. If I got to be there, I got to be there, but I'm going to do it my way and just sit there. I do think that Paul Feig is he can be a good director. He can be a good writer. I think the TV stuff that he's done, things like Park and Recreation and some other shows, I think he's done a very good job. And I loved Bridesmaids, and that which he directed, and that also had Kirsten Wiig and Melissa McCarthy, was very good. I have a crush on Kirsten Wiig, and I thought Melissa McCarthy was very funny in that film, and I really don't find her funny in any other movie. Ghostbusters 2016 that's what it will always be known as. It will never fit into the Ghostbusters universe, from what I'm understand. And it became, and I'm a very political person. I'm Democrat, and I voted for Biden. And I didn't even like the promotional crap that was going on about the movie. Basically them saying it's a Hillary Clinton film, it's a woke film, it's a Me Too film. If you don't like the trailer, you're a man baby that's living in his mother's basement, and all of these things that are being said. I think, even though I'm on that side, I didn't even like hearing that stuff. I thought that's it. Hillary's doomed. Among many other things with Hillary, like the deplorables comment, she was never going to win because it was things like Ghostbusters 2016, I felt played a huge role in getting Trump elected. And you just don't do that with a film. So many movies around that time period, especially while Trump was in office, really played off of that. And they failed. Terminator Dark Fate failed massively using that tactic of, you're a man baby and all that type of stuff. There's just nothing good in Ghostbusters 2016. I can't even believe that there's a script. It looks like it's all ad-libbed. Some of the stuff being jokes from stand-up material that the four women used a while back. Excuse me. Got my Star Wars mug. Figured that'd be an appropriate mug, talking about a massively big movie. Well, here's another, massively big movie. So I figured the Star Wars mug would work on that. Just Melissa McCarthy's joke about the wonton soup serves no purpose in the film. None at all. It's not funny. It's because it was an old routine that she used to do. The whole thing when Kristen Wiig is listening to the tape for the go sounds and stuff. And at the end, it's a queef. And then it said, would it make it any better if you knew it came out the front end? How is that funny? Fart jokes aren't funny to begin with. Why is a queef joke funny? It's not. These are things that are not funny. These are things that are being done by professional, talented people, and it's not funny. If you've read those emails that got hacked, you realize that Paul Feig didn't even have an idea for Ghostbusters 2016. Amy Pascal basically just went off of the first idea that he had. And he was kind of like, oh okay. It's almost like these people never even watched the original two films. And, with that being said, I think Ghostbusters 1, or just Ghostbusters, is by far one of the best films ever made. It is a horror sci-fi comedy, and it's one of the best ones ever made, especially rewatching it, on Thanksgiving. I can honestly say that I would put this into probably my top 5 of one of the best comedies ever made. And it does have its flaws here and there, the crossing of the streams, how, Ray tells, them not to look into the box. And Egon's like, I looked in the box, Ray, I looked in the box. There's nothing is ever done with that. So there are flaws in part 1, but they're so small and the film is so well made. It just beautifully directed. The music, the score, the acting. Bill Murray is hilarious because they wrote this movie basically for him. The casting is perfect, and it's just really good. I mean, it's just great. Even rewatching Ghostbusters 2. Yes, I would say yesterday, because I'm making this video the day after Thanksgiving. I don't know, I originally didn't like the movie because it wasn't as good as Ghostbusters. Was it ever going to be? No, of course not. It was never going to be as good as Ghostbusters. It was either going to be something so different that nobody liked it, or it was just going to be a retread of the first one and nobody was going to like it. But after rewatching it, and I have seen it a few times because it is Ghostbusters, I like the movie now. And once again, doesn't have its flaws. Of course, there are some things that are off in it, but, it works. And let me point out, let's go to, oops, I went to the wrong one. Okay, so For Ghostbusters 2, plus, how can you not? I mean, you can't go wrong with, Max von Sydow to be doing the voice of the painting. I mean, that's pretty genius. But okay, so in Ghostbusters 2, Bill Murray is still pretty good as Venkman. Of course, Dan Aykroyd is good. Sigourney Weaver is good. Harold Ramis is good. Rick Moranis is good. Ernie Hudson's good. Annie Potts is good. Peter McCauley, he's annoying, but I guess it kind of fits the character. Kurt Fuller plays Jack Hardmayer, and he's basically the guy that's trying to get them just completely and totally shut down. He's just kind of a low rent character from the first film. Then we got the mayor. The Oscar, the baby, is cute, played by twins. But what's weird in this one is in the previous film, Egon and Janny, who's Annie Potts, looked like they were going to develop a relationship. But obviously they don't. So it's her and Mick Moranis, Lewis, who hook up, which is kind of weird. And it's never brought up in the second film that Lewis and Dana have sex when they're, the gatekeeper and the keymaster, because there's a shot of him with like his, she pretty much grabs him. And then when we see them later, the top of like his pants are undone. So that's never brought up. So there are some weird things in here. Obviously they wanted to give they want to give Mick Moranis and Annie Potts more to do. So there's different things like that. So when we look back at Ghostbusters 2, it is better than I think what we remember it as, and we should probably give Ghostbusters 2 a second chance. But you can only look at things from what comes after. So when you look at something like Ghostbusters, there's nothing to compare it to. So it's a great movie. When they make Ghostbusters 2, is Ghostbusters 2 good? Is it as good as Ghostbusters 1? Because now there's something to compare it to. Ghostbusters 2 is not as good as Ghostbusters 1. So for a long time, Ghostbusters 2 was the worst. It was it was the Godfather 3 type thing, which I still don't think is a bad movie. But you can only compare Ghostbusters 2 to Ghostbusters 1. Forward many years later, we then get Ghostbusters 2016. That can now be compared to Ghostbusters 1 and 2. Is it better than Ghostbusters? Hell no. Is it better than Ghostbusters 2? Hell no. Now Ghostbusters 2 goes up a level. Now it's, I only want Ghostbusters 1 and 2 because Ghostbusters 2016 is so bad. So now they bring out, a few years later, Ghostbusters Afterlife. And you have in between Ghostbusters 1 and 2 and Afterlife, Ghostbusters 2016. So Ghostbusters 216 automatically makes Ghostbusters Afterlife better. Even if Ghostbusters Afterlife was a bad film, we would still accept it more and like it more than 2016's Ghostbusters, because one, it is an official part 3, but also because you're comparing it to something that's bad. And then when people look at Ghostbusters 1 and 2, they will always be looked at as better than Ghostbusters 2016. And I tend to think that Ghostbusters 2 is still better than Ghostbusters Afterlife. I don't like the direction necessarily that Ghostbusters 2 went, but I still accept it more than Ghostbusters Afterlife, even though I do accept Ghostbusters Afterlife as the official third movie. And the cast and crew of Ghostbusters 2016 can go fuck themselves, because then they came out saying, well, wait, why are you just disregarding our movie? Why aren't we part of it? Why isn't it part of our world? Well, apparently Columbia and Sony thinks it does, because it still has at the very beginning Ghost Corpse. So they still want to try to make some sort of franchise or world or something out of this. It just doesn't include Ghostbusters 2016. So when you have people from that film coming out saying, well, how dare you? Well, no, it's more, how dare you? You didn't want to include Ghostbusters 1 and 2. You just completely left that out and forced the original cast to be in your movie, while people that were making Ghostbusters Afterlife didn't want to have anything to do with you. They didn't want you in their movie. Now, of course, if they make another film, if they make an official fourth film, and one Ghostbuster shows up, then that means Ghostbusters 2016 is within the same world as the other three movies. So it's almost like having Jaden Smith in Cobra Kai. Now we know that his version of Karate Kid is part of the original Karate Kid Cobra Kai universe. And Jason Reitman has already said that Ghostbusters 2 is part of the Ghostbusters legacy that they're now creating. So part of that world. And you could see that in Ghostbusters Afterlife, because Ray is working in Ray's occult shop, which is in Ghostbusters 2. So it is canon. Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters 2, and Ghostbusters Afterlife do exist in the same universe. Jason Reitman has said that Ghostbusters 2 would play more of a part in and if they make another movie. So, yeah, so Ghostbusters 2016, yeah, it could go fuck itself. I gave the film 2 chances. I gave the director and, the 4 main cast a chance, and all they did was just want to bitch and moan and groan and complain, primarily, blaming men for it, for like the bad press or the film not doing as well as Columbia thought that it would. No, I'm sorry. It's because you made a bad movie. You did a lot of improving. You didn't understand what the movie was about, or about the first 2 films, are about, and you failed. You failed. Sorry, you failed. It's that simple. So now, with that being said, I went on to see Ghostbusters Afterlife with some iffiness. I did have problems with it from the get-go. Once they started showing some clips before the movie came out, I did not understand certain things, like why are there many, Stay-Puft Marshmallow Men? This makes no sense. So, and we see Paul Rudd looking at them in the Walmart. This makes no sense to me. None. And then, why would they pick that? Except for fan fodder, except just to have something in there that was from the other movie. And I feel that they're just trying to go Baby Yoda with it. And I immediately thought this is everybody loved the Baby Yoda. So now we're going to try to get everybody to love the mini Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Because it just didn't make any sense. That bothered me. I was excited by the trailer. And so I tried to avoid certain things after that. And I just didn't want the film to be ruined. I really don't think that we needed one of the kids from Stranger Things. I mean, why is he in it except for that he was in Stranger Things? Excuse me. So that kind of bothered me. So I already kind of went in with like, excuse me. Then before I saw the film, I listened to the soundtrack. The soundtrack did have some of the themes from the original movie. And then the rest of it was just kind of meh. It's like, I've never heard of this like composer, conductor before. I'm a big soundtrack collector. I probably own more soundtracks than I do movies. And I should probably start a whole show just on soundtracks. And I just thought that the soundtrack was just very meh. I'm like, I'm not even impressed by the soundtrack. I think that there was one piece of music on there that I did like, but I can't even remember what it's called because everything was just so meh. So I already had like 3 or 4 things that I didn't like when I went in to see the film. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off of Wikipedia and I'm going to look at plot. And that basically, and this is not a long one, which is good. And then I'll kind of give my reasons for things as we go through the plot. Now, here's the thing. First, Jason Reitman, great director. I mean, he just follows up right in his father's footsteps. I mean, he is so good. And he is known for films like, Juno, Thank You for Smoking, Up in the Air, Young Adult. I mean, he is so good at what he does. I have not seen a bad movie that he's directed. And I'm not saying that Ghostbusters Afterlife is bad. I'm just comparing it to the other films. So you got a good director on board. Jason Reitman is one of the writers. Would have been nice maybe if he could team up with Dan Aykroyd. Dan Aykroyd is this guy. He is Ray in real life. If you've looked at his vodka, it's a skull. I actually want to buy it. I've heard it's pretty good. He believes in UFOs and the occult and all that stuff. So that Ray's occult and all these things, you can look him up on YouTube. He believes in all this stuff. I mean, he really does. He's a little nutty, but it kind of seems like he's more fun nutty than like dangerous nutty. So it would have been nice to maybe have him brought on as one of the writers. Who knows, maybe he was a ghost writer, but who knows? So when we look down, so the film is 125 minutes. I don't know how long Ghostbusters 2016 is. I believe it's 2 hours or over 2 hours. It feels like 5. But this is, 125 minutes might just be a little too long for this. The other Ghostbusters were roughly around, give or take 100 minutes. The budget for the film is $75 million. It's primarily shot in a desert. The box office is $79.2 million. So maybe they haven't added everything up yet, but as of this listing, this is a failure. If your budget is $75 million and your box office is $79.2 million, and these days when they say, oh, this film is only available in theaters, so we're not counting streaming, then $72.9 million is a failure. You want to at least double your budget for it to be a hit. $1 billion is that's like, you want to hit that 1 billion mark. All other movies are down here. They're all in the millions. But if you can hit that 1 billion mark, that's your film is one of the highest grossing movies ever made. And this is only like, I'll round up and say like 5 million more than what their budget is. That's not good. I went in and I paid, I believe it was like $11 or $12 to see the film. This was at night. And I bought popcorn, a soda, and red vines. That's like my normal thing to go to movies with. I got to stop that because that cost me over $20. And that cost me more than the price of admission. So the theater made more money off of this movie from me than the studio did. Now, we get into the plot here. Just get rid of dry mouth. Okay. So now, remember, this is my opinion. If you like the movie or hate the movie, that's awesome. Good for you. You can like whatever you want. As I'm sure there's plenty of things that I like that you don't like. But, take it with a grain of salt. It is my opinion. And I didn't make the movie. I'm not the studio. I'm not the writer or director. I'm not the one who financed the film. So I'm only going off of what I could see on the big screen and what I've read off the internet, which of course, as we know, a lot of the times isn't true, but some of it is true. And I try to do research into that before I actually say anything. So there are spoilers in this because I am going to read the plot. And once again, it's my opinion. And if you don't like my opinion, that's fine. Don't need to destroy me on it. I could love the movie and somebody could hate it and still just try to destroy me on it. But so you have, so it says, 32 years after stopping Vigo. So they do bring up Vigo from part 2. Excuse me, in the plot summary here. The Ghostbusters have disbanded after a decline in supernatural activities in New York City. Egon Spengler has relocated to Summerlin, Oklahoma, where Gozarin cultists Chandler's I'm going to mispronounce these names, even though I just saw it. Ivo Shandor's mining operations are located. So the idea is in Ghostbusters, Shandor's metal and everything that he created, the building that Dana was living in is from this mine. And that's why Egon has moved out to that area, is to be close to that mine and stop like the Gozar stuff. So Egon captures a beastly entity from one of the mines, aiming to lure it to a more powerful entity. Aiming to lure a more powerful entity to his farm to trap it. When the trap fails, he hides the ghost trap in a secret compartment located beneath his farmhouse living room floor. Egon struggles with another entity and suffers a fatal heart attack. So I never got that he had a heart attack. I guess he did when the chair all wraps around him. I don't mind them using the fake Egon. I don't think that we needed an action sequence because neither Ghostbusters 1 or 2 had a huge action sequence. This just seems to be kind of a product of today, start the film off with like a James Bond or, Fast and Furious type beginning. Because I never pictured Egon as an action person. He's a scientist. So that kind of bothered me a little bit, even though I was enjoying it, that they were having, Egon in there, even though you never really see him from like, he's always kind of silhouetted or something like that. I like when films do this because if anybody out there has seen Stepfather 3, Make Room for Daddy, it's two different actors from Stepfather 1 and 2 with the same actor, and then Stepfather 3 was a different actor. So in Stepfather 3 is the stepfather goes to kind of this underground type of doctor to get plastic surgery done. Almost kind of like the scene from Tim Burton's Batman with the Joker getting his face redone. And he's there. He gets the plastic surgery on his face. He's got the bandages on. And then I believe he kills the plastic surgeon and then leaves, and he's a completely different actor. So that type of stuff I enjoy is when they give reasons to why like a different actor is now playing the main character from like the last film or the last previous films. And I always find it fun kind of figuring out what they've come up with. This is similar to that. So I like that they actually had somebody playing Egon, and they have this beginning scene and kind of pre-credit scene of him capturing this creature inside the trap. So then we go to Callie, who's Egon's estranged daughter, and her two children. So Callie, the mother, I like her, but man, is she a downer. I mean, I'm sorry that you have all these daddy issues, but it's like, wow, you got these two kids and both of them seem smart and one of them is incredibly smart, that you can't go out and just find a job. I mean, I'm pretty sure that they can stay at home by themselves and kind of look after each other while you're working a job. So that's kind of weird. So Callie, Egon's estranged daughter, and her two children, Trevor and Phoebe, are evicted from their city apartment and move to Egon's farm, which has been left to Callie. Trevor meets a pretty local girl, Lucky, and gets a job at the diner where she works. Boom, her son instantly gets a job. Granted, it's to meet a girl because he likes her. But the son, if that's your motivation for working and getting some money, great. The mom still doesn't look for a job when she gets to this town. There's no job. Phoebe is enrolled in a summer science class at the local middle school. Her mentor is eccentric seismologist Gary Groberson, whom Callie later dates. So the stuff with Paul Rudd, I think, is funny. I like how he shows his class because they only have VHS. Was it Chucky and Cujo? I think is pretty funny. Nobody complains. Like nobody's parents complain about this at all. So I think that's kind of funny. And he just doesn't really give a shit because he's not interested in that. It's most likely just to collect a paycheck and probably to use the school's science equipment. And so that's kind of funny. To go back to Trevor and Phoebe. So I do like the guy from Stranger Things. I just don't think that he was necessary to this. And the actress who plays Phoebe is very good. I like her quite a bit. Most teenager and like younger people in movies tend to be annoying or obnoxious. I did enjoy both of them. But the problem is Trevor more or less is useless in the entire movie. He really doesn't serve a purpose. So I don't really get even why he's here. They just seem to write in a character because they wanted to use maybe somebody from Stranger Things. Phoebe, my biggest problem with Phoebe is she's a Mary Jane. She's perfect at the beginning, she's perfect in the middle, and she's perfect at the, at the end. So she never changes from beginning, middle to end. There's nothing there that changes for her. And that bothers me. This has been compared to Ghostbusters Afterlife has been compared to, and I agree, Star Wars The Force Awakens. I do like the Phoebe character better than Rey from Star Wars. Rey is by far one of the worst Mary Jane characters ever created. And it's, I mean, even at the final film of Rise of Skywalker, her only arc, her only thing that she seems to achieve is she steals the Skywalker name. I mean, that's pretty much it. Phoebe she knows too much. You can have a smart younger person who then grows throughout the film to learn more and more and more. But she seems to know the Ghostbusters equipment pretty damn well. And even the Ghostbusters themselves had problems with it. In the original film, they were destroying things left and right because they, Ray even says that they haven't had a proper time to work the kinks out. And so they're just destroying everything. But Phoebe seems to know how to use this stuff instantly. And it's kind of like, Trevor, we do get that one shot of him. I think it's during the credits where the car breaks down and you see him working on the engine. Like, I think you see like a little bottle of oil there. So I guess that's our only peek into that he knows cars. He doesn't give a reason for wanting to really put together the Echo 1, and which really should be the Echo 2, since it got, completely revamped. I mean, they pimped it out in Ghostbusters 2. So now the license plate says, like Echo 1, I think it's like Echo 1A, I think it says, if I'm remembering correctly. So it would have been nice to see something with him saying, hey, I found this old car in the barn. I would like, I want a car. I'm 15. So if I could fix it up, can I have it? And then the mom going, yeah, sure. Keeps him out of trouble. He's working on a car. So something like that would have been nice. The mom can't get into the house. So even though I did find it funny, she tells Phoebe to pick the lock. So Phoebe just happens to carry with her a lock picking kit. We've seen people who pick locks do that all the time. They open up the little thing and it's got all the little tools they need and they kind of jiggle it all around and then it pops open the door. So I would be wondering why my daughter knows how to pick a lock. I mean, has she had to do this before? Does the mom get locked in the bathroom a lot? And so she has to pick the lock to get her out. But that was kind of weird. And then, Paul Rudd, who I'm a big fan of, I've been a big fan of his for a very long time, pretty much, I guess, starting from Halloween 6 forward. It's just kind of pointless. Gary just doesn't really seem to serve a purpose except for him being like the key master. And that's really about it, for him to turn into a dog. And I just don't really see any point for him except to kind of be hanging out with the kids. And that's really about it. They also mentioned that Phoebe never has friends or has a hard time making friends. And she goes, but I have science. And but yet she seems to make friends pretty quick with that kid podcast. And nobody picks on her. At school, nobody makes fun of her. Nobody picks on her. Nobody says, oh, hey, Four Eyes or anything like that. Nobody does anything, science nerd, nothing. Everybody gets along. Even Trevor's new friends, they pick on him because he's the new guy, but they don't try to hurt him in any way. They don't try to, make hurt his feelings and make him cry or anything. I mean, everybody seems to make friends in this place pretty easily. So that was kind of weird that they would say, oh, well, maybe you'll make friends here. And it's like, boom, day one, she's friends with this kid named Podcast, who you would also think would be picked on in school because he's carrying around all that sound equipment and he's just a weird guy. So, yeah, so there's just questions that I have. Plus the town, I know it's a small town that's like a mining town that's pretty much been closed down, but there just aren't people who are walking around this place. There's not enough. And, but I guess we'll kind of get into that a little bit later. So the next bit is, so Phoebe discovers the house is haunted, the farmhouse, and finds a PKE meter under Egon's chair. So I guess nobody went through the house after he died. They just left it as is. So nobody went through there to see if they could sell anything. Nobody went through anywhere. And, you know, that's when we find out that the, you know, Annie Potts's character, that she's still with Egon, even though she was with Lewis in the second film. So I guess when Egon died and he wasn't expecting it to, when the arms in the chair grab him and he has that heart attack, that they took the body out. They said, okay, it's a heart attack, so it's natural causes. And that's it. Like, no kids have partied in this house. No kids have partied in the farm. No kids have partied in the corn. No kids have done anything. Like, this place is perfectly preserved from him dying up to when the estranged daughter comes out. So then finds, okay, under the chair, an unseen ghost leads her to the hidden trap. So that's the thing under the floor where she moves everything around and she pulls the ghost trap out. I would think that he would probably go bury this ghost trap, you know, hundreds of miles away, not in the farm for somebody to by chance find it. While Trevor finds and repairs the dilapidated Echo One vehicle, which once again, it would have been nice for him to have a reason to want to do that. Lucky takes Trevor to an old mine shaft with her friends where they encounter a glowing apparition, you know, which is, of course, the thing that's in the mine that shoots out and freaks them all out. Phoebe shows the ghost trap to her new friend, Podcast, who I do like. I actually thought that he was a funny kid, and Gary. And Gary reveals he is a fan of the Ghostbusters, conducting his own experiments in Somerville, because Gary's saying, why would there be earthquakes in this town when they're not even on a fault? There's no reason for these earthquakes. Despite, okay, here, I just mentioned what it reads here. Excuse me, very dry. Despite not sitting on an equator, the town has been consistently experiencing strange earthquakes. Gary, Phoebe, and Podcast tamper with the ghost trap, and the beastly entity, revealed to be one of the interdimensional deity Gozer's minions, escapes into Shandor's mind. So that's when they're out in the junkyard. I guess it's not a junkyard. It's just like an area for the buses, like the school buses to be in. Or maybe it is a junkyard. And there's just a couple broken down. I don't remember exactly. But that's not a bad scene. That was a fun scene of them trying to figure stuff out. So then it escapes into the mine. The ghost leads Phoebe to an underground lair where the ghost, who's obviously, you know, Egon, so Egon leads Phoebe to an underground lair where Egon kept his equipment. Realizing the ghost is her grandfather, Phoebe repairs Egon's proton pack under his direction. That's a yes and no, because she already says, oh, this is missing these two things. And then that light that's, in the underground like lab shifts and shows her where those two pieces are. So she's so smart, so smart, like beyond smart, that she knows how to fix a proton pack that she has never seen in her life. She's never heard of the Ghostbusters. She's never heard of what happened in New York, if you even include Ghostbusters 2, that she knows how to fix this pack. I found that to be very unrealistic. I think it would have worked better if she was just looking at it. She did like, what is this? What does it do? And then the light shines over to the pieces that she's missing. She puts them in the areas that it looks like they would fit. And it's now, kind of comes to life type of thing. Let's see. So she and Podcast test it the next day when they encounter Muncher. I like Muncher. I thought Muncher was okay. He's no Slimer. Or she's no Slimer. Who knows? Hard to tell if it's a he or she. But it ain't no Slimer. But that's fine. Muncher's fun. A metal-eating ghost, which is original. Slimer just like to eat a ton of junk food and other crap. And this ghost appears to, as if you could call it a ghost, likes to eat metal. But Muncher initially escapes capture and flees into Summerlin. So before they find Muncher, the Phoebe and Podcast are out in a field where Podcast has set up these things for her to shoot with the pack. One, because of how small she is in her frame, I don't believe for a second that she'd be able to wear that pack, because they even make grown full-size men make comments in both Ghostbusters films of how heavy the pack is. Like they're stumbling with it. And Winston stumbles with it. Bill Murray, I think, even stumbles with it. And so I don't believe someone her size would be able to hold something that big. After Phoebe informs Trevor that they are descendants of the Ghostbusters, the trio chase Muncher in the Echo 1 and successfully capture him. However, the police arrest them for property damage, confiscating the Echo 1 and the other gear. Now, the scene of them in the Echo 1, when they're chasing Muncher around and they're basically just destroying the town, I love that. I think it's the video game. I could be wrong, as I've never played it, but I've heard one thing about the Echo 1, or it could be Echo 2, that's in Ghostbusters, the game, is that it does have the gunner seat. I could be wrong, but I like the idea of the gunner seat. I like that the floor pops down a little bit, and in the little car with the box on it, the ghost capturing box, is on the four wheels and can drive around. I like that. So the changes that they did to Echo 1 did not bother me at all, even though these things are never brought up in Ghostbusters 1 and 2. And except for this scene of them chasing Muncher around the town, which is similar to the hotel scene, which was the very first job where Annie Potts hits the red button and they're like, "We got one." And they race off to the hotel and they just destroy everything. The chase through the town in Afterlife is similar to that, but it's different enough to where this is original on its own, especially with the gunner seat and the trap on the four wheels and stuff like that. So I'm perfectly okay with that. I thought that was fine. It's a fun scene of them destroying the town. There should have been more people walking around. Once again, I know it's a small town, but you would think with all that activity and destruction going on that people would come out to see what's happening, because it is a small town. They've never experienced anything like this. It isn't like LA or New York where a siren is just a common noise. So, but it was a fun scene. And so they say, they successfully capture him. However, the police arrest them. Okay, so they take away their property. They take away Echo gear, the Echo One, and the gear. So this annoys me because they got a known actor to play the sheriff. This is the only time that we ever see the sheriff. Why the sheriff, with everything that's going on inside and outside the town, is not there more? I don't know. It's really bizarre. I do like how Phoebe gets really pissed at the sheriff and aims the gun at her or at him, like she's just going to kill him. And the look on her face is great. But why are the cops not more prone to hearing and seeing and getting reports of these things? It's almost like if it's not right in front of their eyes, they don't see it or hear it. So that kind of bothered me because they could have added in something with the police, but shit, the film's already like a little over 2 hours. So so podcast, successful capture. Okay. However, the police arrest them. Okay. Phoebe calls the Ghostbusters number and reaches Ray Stantz. So the commercial that she sees says 555 and then a number. 555, of course, being what Hollywood uses for phone numbers. But it doesn't give an area code. So unless she knows what area code he lives in, just dialing 555 and then whatever numbers after it is not going to connect her to the location that Ray is in. She would have to look up, and she's smart, so I guess maybe she did. You know, she's a Mary Jane, so she basically is the smartest person on the planet. So maybe she did. Maybe she figured out where Ray is or whatever it is. And so she contacts Ray, and he explains that when Egon's teammates doubted his belief in the upcoming apocalypse, he then stole the car and the gear and moved to Summerlin. I do not believe this for a second. I don't think that this would happen. I think that except for maybe Venkman, because Venkman's all about the money, that, and that's one of the best things in Ghostbusters 2 is that, Venkman has his own fake, hokey, like psychic show. Egon seems to have gone back to teaching. And then Ray and Winston are doing parties as the Ghostbusters, which is really kind of sad to see, especially after how much they were loved at the end of the first film, of how kind of dark Ghostbusters 2 is, like them being thrown into an insane asylum, how the mayor doesn't even want to talk to them, how the mayor screwed them on money that was owed to them. I mean, part 2, even though it's a comedy, is actually a pretty dark film. The way that I kind of look at the original Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters 2, and then Ghostbusters 2016 is, if you look at the Smokey and the Bandit movies, the original films that came out, and you could buy them as a 3-pack. I have them. And so that's the way to get them, is to have all 3 of them in 1 pack. So that's why I do this analogy. Ghostbusters, which has all the 4 guys in it, is like Smokey and the Bandit with Burt Reynolds. It's perfect. Smokey and the Bandit made so much money. And I saw it in the theater, I think maybe twice as a kid. I loved it. Burt Reynolds was the fucking man. And that car and Snowman and Smokey and all that. Great film. Was hilarious. Ghostbusters 2 is like Smokey and the Bandit Part 2, where Smokey and the Bandit Part 2 was really dark. It begins, the film begins with the bandit, Burt Reynolds, drunk. He got all this money for winning this contest from the first film and basically spent it all on alcohol. So when he wakes up, now this is a kid's movie, more or less. When he wakes up, he's surrounded by empty beer cans that fall over. he is horribly drunk, like horribly hungover. And he's kind of that way throughout the film. And it's a bigger movie. It's brought back a lot of its main cast and brought in some new people, and it just doesn't work. It's still Smokey and the Bandit Part 2. I still own it because it's part of the anthology. And it just, but it doesn't work. Kind of like Ghostbusters 2 didn't work for a lot of other people. Ghostbusters 2016 is like Smokey and the Bandit Part 3, or as the film was originally called, Smokey is the Bandit. So Burt Reynolds decided, I'm not going to be in this movie. I want nothing to do with it. So then Jerry Reed, who played the trucker snowman, takes over as the bandit. You still got Jackie Gleason as the sheriff. And now they're on their own cross-country race. And with one cameo by Burt Reynolds, one cameo, he was probably there for one day, probably paid him like $1 million, and he's in a hammock. And that's kind of like with Ghostbusters 2016 with the cameos, where they were either paid a huge amount of money or they were forced by the studio to be in the movie to still say, oh yeah, somebody from the original cast is in it. And then nobody wanted Smokey and the Bandit Part 3. They didn't care. It didn't have Burt Reynolds. It doesn't have the original Bandit. We don't want this. And so the film bombs. And that's my analogy of how the Smokey and the Bandit movies match up against at the time, the 3 Ghostbusters films. So let's get back to this. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not buying this whole thing about Egon's belief in the upcoming apocalypse. I'm not buying any of that. Except for Venkman, I think, and maybe even he would believe it. I think all of them would believe that this is going to happen. Maybe Venkman believes it, but he doesn't want to, so he goes off and does his own show. You know, you have Egon go out into the desert, but Ray and Winston would still know where he is and still would keep tabs on him, because they do believe him, but he's the one who's doing the research, but they still want normal lives. Something like that. You didn't need to make it so dark and hateful that the Ghostbusters split because of this upcoming apocalypse, when they've already been in two films that deal with the end of the world. And they stopped it. I mean, who knows what other things they stopped that we didn't see? You know, there's obviously things that happen between Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2. There's, you know, they say that the drop in like the ghost sightings and all that type of stuff, you know, kind of went away. And then it came back up with Ghostbusters 2 with the green slime and like the hatred that's in New York City. But we're probably not seeing everything that the Ghostbusters went on. Like not every call we're seeing. So I just find it hard to believe that this is what happened. And I think that this is not good storytelling. Also, to go back, so Paul Rudd in the Walmart, that really irritates me. I understand that Ghostbusters has a fair amount of product placement. Coke was big in the first 2 movies. Egon is eating Cheez-Its at one point, which is perfectly fine because he just grabs it and starts eating it. But of course, in Ghostbusters 2016, they got to make a big deal out of the Pringles, really making it obvious of what's going on. With Egon, it was just a casual conversation, and he's eating. And with 2016, they're like actually looking at a ghost, so it makes no point for her to be eating Pringles and then doing some sort of ad line for it. But with Walmart, there's nobody in this Walmart. So one, we're already getting the Walmart product placement, which everybody, I assume, has a love-hate relationship with. And when Paul Rudd goes in to buy ice cream, unless this is 3 a.m, there are no employees. There's no customers. There's nothing. And I've been to a Walmart at 3 a.m, and there's still people there. And I would assume that he's going in maybe at like 8 at night, 9 at night. So there would be people walking around. Then he walks past the marshmallows and sees, the mini, Stay Puft Marshmallow Men, which once again, I say were only done for the purpose of trying to make cute, merchandise off of, like Baby Yoda. Now, the only reason why the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man was in the original movie is because that is what Ray thought of. He tried to think of the most innocent thing from his childhood possible, and it ended up being the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. And so for them to pop up in a bag of marshmallows makes no sense at all, because Paul Rudd was not given this option. Paul Rudd knows of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man and probably the product itself, the marshmallows itself, but he's not thinking of it. So why would this happen except just to have some sort of merchandising that the studio could put out for people to buy? I understand with the Ecto 1, with like the gunner seat and the piece that lowers down at the bottom, that little cage piece, kind of like the Batman movies, like the 4 Batman films, you want to sell with like the 2 Tim Burton films, the different Batman costumes, the different Batman boats, the different Batman Batmobiles. And then you have the Joel Schumacher ones where you want to do the same thing. You want to have in each film, Batman gets a new costume. In each film, Batman gets a new car. He gets a plane in this one, and he gets a boat in that one. I get that. It's all merchandising. I understand it, but in this team just seemed to serve no purpose. And as he's running, he should at least be running by or knocking into somebody. The place is bone dry. Like, everybody just disappeared. Once again, I know it's a small town, but if they're going to put a Walmart in there, that means that there's enough interest and enough business in that town for Walmart to put like a supercenter in there. And then, of course, Paul Rudd sees, what they kept calling, a dog, which is not. And and then he's chased by the dog. And once again, why is the dog in Walmart? Except to turn Paul Rudd into like the Keymaster. So it really serves no purpose. 1, to have Walmart in there. 2, to have the merchandising idea for the mini Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. The dog, I keep calling it a dog because it's just easier. That there's no reason for it to be in there. I mean, it could be in any store. I mean, it just happens to be in there. And then there's just nobody in there. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So, okay, so back to this. So Trevor, Phoebe, Lucky, and Podcast find a temple dedicated to Gozer inside the mine. They also find Ivo Shandor in suspended animation, who's J.K. Simmons, by the way. That is awesome. Such a small part. And until he speaks, I didn't even know that it was J.K. Simmons. And I love J.K. Simmons. Obviously, he wanted to be in a Ghostbusters movie. That would be my thing, is that he's just like, please, I'll play anything in this. And they're like, well, we got this one role with one line, and you're suspended in like in suspended animation. He's like, I want it. I'll do it, just to be part of that universe. And a device Egon set up to contain incursions by Gozer, whose escape attempts are causing the earthquakes. So this is another thing of why I don't believe that the other Ghostbusters wouldn't believe Egon when he's telling him about this apocalypse. He's created this giant machine in this mountain, that's zapping whatever in, down in this cave to keep it from getting out. And you would think on the news or something, you would hear small town for no reason is having these earthquakes, and that, no one knows why. No one knows what's going on. So that would obviously catch somebody's attention, but it doesn't. Then Gary and Callie are possessed by Gozar's minions. And I do like their relationship. I think it's cute. By Gozar's minions. So here we have, Vince Cortheo, and Keymaster, the Keymaster, and Zool, the gatekeeper. So the two dogs. So they become the two dogs, respectively, and go to Shandor's mine. The Keymaster destroys Egon's containment system. So that's Paul Rudd, allowing Gozar to manifest and Shandor to awaken, and the former kills the latter. So I want to make sure I get this right here. So Gozar kills Shandor, which is what, which that type of thing always happens. Master, I'm here to serve you. And then the neck gets snapped. The thing I did not know is Gozar is actually played by Olivia Wilde. There's like 3 different people who play Gozar. But she's one of the people who actually plays Gozar, and I love her. I think she's gorgeous. Let's see. They flee the mine to Egon's farm, drawing Gozar there, but the trap is sabotaged by Gozar's mini puffs, is what they're called, mini puffs. And here's another thing. If the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man practically destroys New York, and you would think that product would be removed, but instead, like, you would not have those marshmallows anymore. Any signs like on buildings would be removed. Commercials would be removed. I mean, this thing almost destroyed New York, if not the planet. But yet in a small town, they still carry the marshmallows. And there's even a sign up for Stay Puft Marshmallows. So I would think that would be, painted over, unless this town is so far out that they have no idea what's going on. Let's see. But okay, trap is sabotaged by Gozar's mini puffs, and it frees Zool. So Zool possesses Lucky, and Gozar is restored. So then, out of nowhere, completely out of nowhere, and I'm guessing the original Ghostbusters, the 3 of them, could see where all the action is happening. I mean, I guess, she's, Phoebe's talking to Ray saying, well, I'm Egon's granddaughter. So I have to assume that Ray knew she was calling from the farm, or maybe had the call traced, got in contact with Peter and Winston, gathered them up, and even though they say that Egon took all the equipment and all that type of stuff, Ray, Peter, and Winston still have their uniform, and they still have one of the packs. So I guess he didn't take everything. So that's kind of weird. And I guess they could just see all the activity happening around, the farm, that even from like 5 miles away or 10 miles away or whatever it is, they're like, okay, that's where we're going. Because the police certainly don't know anything. The police aren't doing anything about it. There should be police there. There should be other probably farmers and stuff there trying to find out what's going on this creepy farm that everybody's heard about. So, because they keep calling him the dirt farmer, Egon, that people knew who he was and that he was weird, and that they just keep calling him the dirt farmer. So Way, way, Ray arrives with Peter and Winston to aid the Spanglers in and their friends, but Gozer overpowers them by countering the Ghostbusters' tactics. Phoebe battles Gozer herself, and Egon's ghost materializes beside his daughter to help. So, when in the original Ghostbusters, when Gozer asks Ray, "Are you a god?" he says no. She blasts him and all the Ghostbusters. And then Winston says, "Next time when you're asked if you're a god, you say yes." Okay, so now it's asked again. Why? Reasons? I don't know. Ray now says yes. I personally think what Gozer should have said is, "I knew you were going to say that, and you're not a god," and then that's when they all get zapped. Like it's a trick. Instead of just repeating the same line from the first film for fan fodder and reasons. So then Phoebe and the Ghostbusters restrain Gozer while Trevor charges the trap with a stream from his proton pack, and the ghost traps are working, capturing Gozer and its minions. Once again, the mini puffs. I mean, they have they cause problems with machinery and stuff, but how did they get to the farm? I mean, how'd they get there? Where do they even know where to go? Capturing Gozer and its minions within. Egon reconciles with his family and friends before vanishing into the afterlife. So this is the thing. Okay. So I heard a lot of people cry during this scene. I did not. I actually found it to be a little creepy. The Harold Ramis ghost looked kind of weird. He never spoke. We know that ghosts can laugh, they could scream, they can make noises. In the first Ghostbusters, the woman who's in the library goes, "Shh." So we know that they could probably talk. Why they didn't have Egon speak bothers me. And I didn't get all emotional about it. I thought that it looked kind of weird that he just kind of stood there not speaking. And they could have used Harold Ramis's voice from another movie. They could have used it maybe from Ghostbusters. There's the technology today of making it sound a little off to make it like a ghost voice. To me, I think would have worked. I also think that this would have been a good place to kind of have like a real life thing happen, which is after Groundhog Day, Bill Murray and Harold Ramis fell out of friendship. They did not talk to each other for a very long time. And right before Harold Ramis died, they mended their problems. They apologized and all that type of stuff. And so they made amends. And then Harold Ramis died of cancer. And that to me is sadder than this. So than what we see in the film. So what they could have done was have maybe Peter, Bill Murray, apologize to Egon's ghost. And both of them apologize to each other. They do kind of like the human ghost hug. So it's kind of like, art imitating life. And I think that would have made this scene more important than what they did. I know Ray apologizes and all that, but to me, it just didn't really mean anything. It just wasn't that important. It's nice having the ghost. I'm glad that they could do something, with having Harold Ramis in the film in some sort of way. But I just it just didn't hit me emotionally. And nobody really in the film has an arc. The only person who has an arc in the movie is the mom, because she pretty much does what Bill Murray, I think, should have done. reconcile, father and daughter, they reconcile, and, you know, and everything is worked out. Everything is okay. And that actually teared me up more than just the Egon ghost, which I think just could have been done better. So we have, let's see, the traps. Okay. So Egon reconciles with his family and friends before vanishing into the afterlife, hence Ghostbusters Afterlife. After getting acquainted with the group, the surviving Ghostbusters return to New York with the Echo One and the equipment. So is this a passing of the baton? Because if they take everything back with them, that means that the kids on the farm and in the town, it's not a passing of the baton, which is what I heard it was supposed to be, that these kids are going to be the new Ghostbusters. So maybe they'll do something in another film. I don't know. But one of the scenes that I thought really failed is when Bill Murray is taunting Gozer with, you know, to me, that didn't work. It was funny when he did it in the first film, and it worked a little bit in the second movie, but you knew what they were doing. Here, it just didn't work because I think a lot of Bill Murray's stuff is ad-lib, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. He obviously wanted to be on Ghostbusters 1 more than he wanted to be on Part 2, so his lines are better and in Part 1 than Part 2. And he, from what I understood, took a lot of convincing to be in Ghostbusters Afterlife. And so he's just not working at 100% here. And even though I do love seeing the original 3 Ghostbusters show up, they might have wanted to work out a little bit, maybe lose a couple pounds, maybe, you know, that type of thing. They just kind of looked old, and it's kind of like seeing a rock band on stage and they're in their 70s and you're kind of like, ooh, maybe it's time for retirement. So I wouldn't mind if this was the last Ghostbusters film with the original guys in it. Excuse me, unless they want to do some sort of, maybe if one of them wants to make a cameo or something, then I'd be okay. But you know, that's yeah. So I don't know. I made a comment on Facebook that I think that the film actually would have worked better without the original guys showing up. And then somebody commented, my friend Matt commented like, well, they're passing the baton. And I don't know. I don't think this is really passing the baton, because if Winston left with all the equipment, then you're not passing the baton. And you could pass the baton without having the original guys there necessarily. I mean, you could just say that the packs and the equipment and the car and all of that is the passing of the baton. Even just like the one scene with Ray, to at least have one Ghostbuster in the film still would have been passing the baton. So now we're at the very end, and there's 2 post-credit sequences. One is incredibly pointless, very pointless. So I kept wondering, when is Sigourney Weaver going to show up in this? Even the Annie Potts cameo I thought was pretty pointless. They wanted to fit her in the film. I guess they kind of made her his realtor or not housekeeper, that's not the right word, but partner or companion in this to make sure that the house is still up and running and the bills are paid and all that, maybe his accountant or something. But I still thought that was kind of pointless, but it's nice seeing her back. So the scene with Sigourney Weaver, basically they're just duplicating the scene from the first Ghostbusters film where, Peter is electrocuting the guy who's getting the cards wrong and not electrocuting the hot girl who is getting the cards wrong. And I didn't get it. Like, we see on Sigourney Weaver's hand a ring, like a wedding ring. So are they married now? So after Ghostbusters 2, maybe they got married, but it just seemed like such an afterthought. Because it just really does serve no purpose. I mean, now she's shocking him, because he was shocking them. But this is a long time. I mean, you would think if she wanted to kind of playfully get back at him for shocking the guy, this might have been done 20 years ago, not now. And so it's basically just to have her in the film. It's just to have her name in the credits. It's just to have her show up on talk shows. It just doesn't, it seems like they shot it in a day. So the Sigourney Weaver stuff just doesn't seem relevant to the movie at all. And it just really seems to be an afterthought that they just threw on. Now, the very end, we do see, after the credits, so stay to the very end of the credits. Pardon me. Talking a lot makes the throat dry. So the very end, we see Winston, pardon me, at the fire department, at the original Ghostbusters headquarters. And in drives the Echo One, kind of hinting, excuse me, that this is going to be continuing. I'm perfectly fine with. If the Ghostbusters want to take back their equipment, if we want to see them, continue ghostbusting or include the kids in on it, maybe have Ghostbuster corporations where they can hire people to become Ghostbusters, I'm perfectly fine with that. So that ending I didn't mind much because of what didn't seem just like a throw-on ending, even though I would have preferred for the kids to keep all the equipment, because you have no idea how the three Ghostbusters got out to the farm. They just appear from the side of the frame. So I'm guessing they drove the Echo One back to New York, and then Winston, who's now rich, he's now a millionaire, bought the firehouse, is parking the car in there. There's also the scene with Annie Potts and him where she talks about this coin that she got like at a World's Fair. And in a deleted scene from Ghostbusters, which they added into this, she gives Egon that coin for good luck. And he says, I can't take it. It's your only one. She goes, no, I have a second one. So he takes it. And then in the post-credit scene is she shows it to Winston saying, this is the second coin. And then we see him at the firehouse with the Echo One coming into it. So I don't mind that. I think that just would have been fine. I still wish that the kids would have kept the equipment. I'm going off of Wikipedia of saying that he took the Echo One and the equipment. So maybe they just took back their Ghostbusters equipment and left the kids with the equipment that they found at the farm. I mean, who knows? Because it's underground lab and everything is huge. So they can't take back everything. So I don't know, maybe that would be the corporate office or something. I don't know. Another thing that bothered me is when Phoebe goes to get the Ghostbuster outfits, kind of like those mechanic suits. Those are obviously for grown men. And they fit the kids perfectly. There should have been a shot maybe since podcasts is like the comic relief, is have him put on the suit and the sleeves like come down to like here on him or something, and they have to roll them up and all that. But the suits seem to fit pretty damn well. And especially on Phoebe and stuff. I mean, they would fit much better on Trevor, but magically these suits seem to fit. And even if they did roll up the sleeves and the legs, for the chest and the stomach the suit would be huge. So that's another thing that really bugged me about that. So I don't know. That's kind of my take on the whole thing. I don't want to go on too long about it because this has probably already been close to an hour. But here is a film that I think is one of the best like remake, reboot sequels out there. And that is the new Candyman. I think this thing is beautifully shot, beautifully edited, beautifully directed. It's beautifully acted. The guy who plays the new Candyman, I think, is great. The guy who's kind of becomes the Candyman in the film, I think, does a pretty good job. And I like the history of this is that there have been so far 5 Candymen. And these guys are just one of them. And 3 of them appear in this film. Actually, no, there would be now 6 with the new guy. So there's 5 up to this guy. And I'd like to see some of those stories. But to me, this is a perfect reboot, sequel, remake. I don't know exactly what you call films these days, but to me, this is, watch this, throw away Ghostbusters, 2016. I like this even better than Ghostbusters Afterlife. And to me, this is, because this doesn't throw away the other 2 Candyman films. So Farewell to the Flesh and Day of the Dead could still happen. They're just focusing on the first film. So so I think this is 100 times better than Ghostbusters 2016. I do think it's better than Ghostbusters Afterlife, even though I still recommend, even with all of its problems, Ghostbusters Afterlife. So I think that's going to wrap it up. And I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys watching and kind of hearing my opinion on things. And I hope it made sense. I might be leaving some stuff out that I thought about talking about. I didn't write anything down this time because I was going to go off, like I said, I'm going off of Wikipedia. So is there anything else I can think of just quickly off the top of my head? Let me look at the cast. No. Bob Gunton actually plays the Egon's ghost in this, for those who are interested. So Ghostbusters Afterlife does, it obviously includes a lot from the first Ghostbusters. It does include at least one thing from Ghostbusters 2, which is Raise a Cult Shop. It includes the Sandar from the game, even though he's brought up in the first film. His first appearance is in Ghostbusters, the video game. And then we get nothing. Thank God. You get nothing from Ghostbusters 16 because you do not deserve it. This is what you get for being a bunch of fucking assholes. So that's about it. So I'm going to sign off, and maybe I'll do another one of these type of things down the road. But I might do just a video alone on the new Candyman because I enjoyed it so much. Kind of break that down, and maybe that will come up in the future. So, all right, everybody, thank you, and I will talk with you later. All right, bye. Hey, everybody. Thanks for hanging out after the video. And thank you for watching the very first Dark Park Films sponsored video. And who is that sponsor? Well, I've now learned if I do this with my hands, they go to the right area. There we go. That would be Wildlife Command Center Coffee. And you can purchase it right there. You can go to their website, which is buyWCC.com, and pick up their coffee. They have 2 blends, which I'm going to show you now. The first coffee is this one right here. This is a breakfast blend. It's 10 ounces, and it is a medium ground. And it does say, and it's breakfast, like I said, and this is what it says right here. It says, early bird can catch the worm. So there you go. A breakfast blend coffee that helps you catch the worm in the morning. And I really like this one. I'm more of a breakfast kind of blend coffee guy in the morning. So this one I really like. It has that little bit of oomph to it to kind of get you moving, get you up and out. And so I really enjoy this one, but that doesn't mean that I don't like the other one, which is this one right here. This is a dark roast. It is also 10 ounces. And both of these are $7.99 at their website. Pretty good price for 10 ounces worth of ground coffee. This one is, it's a little darker. So it's, I think it's better for drinking at night. Maybe if you're, writing a screenplay or if you're filming, this has got that oomph, that double punch to get you going. So this is one that I also recommend. I like both of these quite a bit, but I kind of do, the breakfast in the morning and then the dark more at night. So I recommend both of these quite a bit. And how did I find out about these two coffees here? And how did I find out about Wildlife Command Center? Well, when I was working on Night of the Zomghouls, there was a box of coffee that was just sitting there filled with coffee. And we didn't know what to do with it. Like, whose is this? Who brought it? Why is it here? And so we just kept going to the store and buying coffee. And then one day I said, why don't we just get the coffee out of the box and use that instead of, wasting money on going to Smith's or whatever and picking up coffee. So we did. We did not realize that it was the Wildlife Command Center coffee and that it, was sponsoring the movie. And it was great coffee. Everybody loved it. And we just went right through it. By the last day of filming, this coffee was gone. And I went and found out, about Wildlife Command Center, asked if they would like to be a sponsor for Dark Park Films, for their coffee. As many of you know, I love coffee. I love coffee mugs. And so this was a perfect match. And Wildlife Command Center is great with animals. So they provide a great service for rescuing animals. So it's kind of that double whammy for me, where coffee, helping animals, you can't go wrong. And they were even cool enough to send me, get in there, a coffee mug, because they knew that I liked coffee mugs. And right now, I don't get that. A little bit. I want to go on the keyboard, but that's their dark blend, because I'm recording this at night. So I am actually drinking that while recording. Also, one thing that you can get at their website, which is cool, is you can get this. There you go. This pocket knife, which is $9.49. And this is pretty cool because it has their name on it. Wildlife Command Center, we can catch it. And this is what it looks like. Put that down there. There we go. Fully out. So you're getting like the bottle opener, you got the corkscrew, you got a screwdriver, you got a blade, and then you got this little hook thing that you could pop it into something that doesn't have a tab, and then the liquid or whatever in there will come out. So this is pretty cool. And I'm just going to keep mine in my car, because you never know. You might need a pocket knife. So please support them. I'm going to have links down below, where you can, check out just the Wildlife Command Center. I'll also have a link for Wildlife Command Center coffee. And it will basically be for both these guys right here. And please support them. I support them. I think what they do is pretty awesome. And maybe this coffee will be on your set or in your kitchen. It will definitely be, on my set in my kitchen. I know that. So please, once again, I'm going to show you these. Please go to their website and pick up their coffee and make it part of your day or night, depending on which one you like. So that'll be about it. I really appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with me. And yeah, so thank you. And once again, please support my channel. Please support the Wildlife Command Center. And I will catch you later. Bye.